Elsa Dagwood grew up in the underground crypts of Mirkir. Never knowing her true parents, she saw the elder who raised her as her father. One day the crypts were attacked by elementals cast by the people of Alagavia. After this attack, she promised to leave home and avenge the people who lost their lives to the hands of those elementals. Many months later, after joining an adventuring party, she found out the location of Alagavia, as well as one other fact, that her true father was the one who sent those elementals to the crypts, and that in fact Alagavia was once a part of the crypts of Mirkir until a war broke out on the surface. Some pallid elves chose to join the necromancer cult to fight in the war, forming Alagavia. But Silas did not send those elementals alone. The help of the most esteemed elemental casters, his closest friend, each controlling one of the elements, earth, water, air, and fire, they helped him carry out this attack. Now Elsa must go to Alagavia and try her best to, with the help of her friends, to resolve this deep-rooted conflict. For my miniature bases, I'm just using these cheap wooden discs you can buy at art shops. I'm just covering it with super glue and then sprinkling on baking soda, and this kind of adds like a cool ground texture that's in scale. Then you just use a cheap brush to kind of brush it off. After that's done, I then just glue Silas onto the base, and I repeat this step for all of them. I take them outside and prime them white. So to start painting, I'm painting these quite fast because I need to get them done for the end of the week. So the first step is just blocking in all the colours. So a dark blue for the skin, green, brown for the pants, and then a few different browns for the leathers and the belts. Axes and any other metallic bits in black as a base coat, and then when I paint silver over them it'll look good. I'm also going to paint the rock armor on his shoulder and his hair black. Then I'm going to start doing the highlights once all that's dried by just mixing in a little bit of white into the colours I use. Again, just trying to be as quick as I can. That came out well, so we can move on to the next step now.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Of course, I'm not actually going to leave the eyes like that, so it's very easy. You just go back with your blue kind of skin tone and then cover up any spots that wasn't supposed to be white and kind of cut away from the white to make those eyes a lot smaller. It's a much easier way of doing it, and it usually ends up looking quite good. Then I'm just going to paint the metallics onto the black, and you can see it gives it a kind of nice iron look to them, having that black underneath the good metal. So now we're just going to black the eyes. So you grab your brush with a bit of black on it. No, don't actually do this. It is way too hard, and it kind of undoes the nice white we just did. Instead, you should really use one of these. They are amazing. So I'm using the 0.03. It's the smallest one they had in the shop, but you can see that tiny tip on it. It makes it super easy. Just add your little black dot. Earth's caster done. I'm just going to repeat all those steps on the other ones, just changing the colours of the clothes. Before I start planning the whole encounter, I like to pre-roll my initiatives for all my monsters and stuff. Just I find it easier rather than trying to roll a bunch of initiatives on the day. So we're going to start off with Silas. He's our main boy of this encounter. So Silas. Oh, that's a 17. And then he's plus 3 to Dex, so that's a 20. That is very nice for him anyway. Okay, and then next up we're going to do the water caster. That's 9, 10, 11 for the water caster. And I'm just going to speed through these anyway. Next, I'll put on screen what each roll is. For the encounter, so Alagavia is basically an underground city. So I'm using this cave terrain to kind of represent that. And then I have this kind of rock here. I'm going to kind of explain that it's an actual pillar that's blocking off this kind of section. So that it kind of creates this like ring for the battle area. And then over here it's going to be further into the village. So as it is a functioning kind of city and village, I'm going to use other minis from Board Game Talisman. I'm just going to use these as villagers and kind of have them standing around and just going about them, just to add like an extra kind of level. If fighting starts, they're probably going to try run into houses. These are just going to be basic village folk that aren't really up for fighting. But I'm going to have the casters kind of mingling with them. One important thing, I want to keep the water caster and the fire caster away from each other. Because when they summon their elementals, the water elemental could potentially do damage to the fire one. And then for Silas, he's going to be basically over further into the village. There's going to be a ritual that's going on. Basically Silas is going to be starting over this direction. He's going to land here and then call his elemental casters to arms. And as far as the players go, they'll be coming in through here. But where they end up completely depends on them. Like they could come in and decide to stealth and start hiding behind buildings, so that's completely up to them. So I did roll the initiative beforehand. So the initiative order is Silas, so first, which kind of makes sense as he's starting the fight. His whole plan is obviously get his elementals up from his casters, but he's just going to basically kind of wait for that. Another thing with Silas, he's convinced that Ilsa, his daughter, that she's dead, and also that his wife is dead. So when he sees Ilsa alive and much older, he's going to call her by her mother's name. So I think that'll be interesting to see if they kind of play on that, because he's going to be a bit stunned and confused. So they could potentially try and negotiate with him, or I really don't know. Or it could just end up being a fight, but he's ready to fight anyway. And then next up is the water caster. So obviously straight away they're going to summon in their elemental and bring that into the fight. So once the elemental's in, you know, they'll get to move and attack and all that, and that's how they'll kind of skip ahead. So each of their turns they're going to just summon their elemental. They'll move around depending on what's happening. As far as the villagers go, my plan for them is just make them run away, try get out of the way. Obviously if the players accidentally kill some or purposely kill some, that might antagonize the people a bit more, like convincing Silas to change it harder if that's what they're going for. And the villagers, I'm not rolling initiative for them, as they're more just kind of obstacles in this encounter, not necessarily like key components. I'll put them at the bottom of the initiative, and they're just going to start running away, trying to get in houses. Now, as far as actual combat goes, their plan is to try kill all the players, of course. So these elemental casters are going to actually try keep their distance if possible from the players, kind of stand back, kind of shoot cantrip spells like firebolt and stuff like that, and try keep distance so they can maintain concentration on the elementals. Because obviously if they take damage, they fail their concentration check, they lose control of those elementals. So that'll be another interesting element, because if they figure that out and then target the casters, once they lose control, you could end up having this huge brawl of just all these elementals violently attacking everyone. It could lead to kind of a very interesting encounter, but their strategy would obviously be to not get hit if possible. And Silas will be getting in their face as well and trying to attack them and all that as well. I also think it'd be fun is, as this is a team, these four casters, I kind of want certain ones to work together.
try do some fun stuff. Like, so the earth elemental can burrow, so go under the ground and then pop up somewhere else. So I think it'd be fun if the earth elemental could burrow, then pop up behind someone, and then the air elemental could potentially use their whirlwind ability to push players into the earth elemental, dealing damage to the player. But I just think it'd be a cool kind of visual. My goal basically is to try and make them feel like a team as much as possible, and then Silas, being a vampire spawn, kind of to do his own thing and kind of command these to do stuff, or Silas potentially could try charm one of them. But this encounter should theoretically be quite hard, but we'll have to find it very hard to tell with my players, because sometimes I make like pretty hard encounters and they absolutely stomp my guys. So I'll be interested to see how this goes. But overall, the main plan is that the elementals go up, casters avoid getting hit at all costs. You know, like if one's getting rushed, maybe the others will send their elementals like straight to that person. So if you try to attack a caster, maybe you get like all the elementals gunning for you. That could be quite interesting. It should be pretty fun. I definitely want to do those combos. I think that'd be cool. But I'm going to run this whole thing tomorrow anyway, and obviously you'll just see a jump cut of me discussing how it went. And
so I finished running the encounter, and it went really well. The players definitely did some things I would have never expected. They were able to talk to someone. To kind of cut a long story short, they were able to get some intel of what Allegavia is now, where it's not just the city, it's actually a huge base or a cult that my players are trying to stop. So after finding that information out, which I wasn't expecting them to be able to find out, but they were very clever in how they went about it and found out. So with that knowledge in mind, they decided they didn't want to go in just themselves, because that session I had 4 out of my 6 players. They had less than usual anyway. So they decided to go hire some guards, and as well as a monster hunting guild. They hired a party from that. So in total, I had the 4 players and then 3 NPC guards and 4 NPC monster hunters. So obviously the party size became a lot bigger, so that made the fight quite interesting. The fight itself went well. There were some serious cool moves, some very fun story moments for each of the characters. Like Elsa decided to try negotiate with Silas and try turn him kind of friendly and realize who she was to him, and so that was super interesting. Bide, my paladin in the game, he just went on a mad like mage slaying quest, and he killed basically 3, with the help of others, but he killed 3 of the casters. So now only the fire caster and Silas survived the fight. They were able to get out. Like it was a good combat, and there's a nice mix of the roleplay there, trying to convince Silas. So that's a story thread that's going to keep going now. But at the end of it, my players were very happy with it. They really enjoyed it, and they're excited for the next session. So that's about as successful as an encounter can be. Now it's just time for the painting showcase. So while you're looking at them, I just want to say thanks very much for watching. I really enjoyed making this video and I learned a lot from it, and I definitely want to do more, but in future I think I want to change the way the video is done. So I think in future I'll do the painting in a separate video, and then the encounter, running and building, I think I'll make it more generic so that anyone can use the encounter by just dropping it in their game, rather than kind of discussing an encounter I'm running from my game that fits in my world. I think it'd just be better if it was more generic, that anyone could use it. Other than that though, I'm quite happy with the video, and I hope you've enjoyed it. It definitely was a step out of my comfort zone anyway, especially doing the voiceover, but I hope it was somewhat entertaining anyway, and hopefully you'll be back for the next one. Thanks again. Bye.